Hello everyone, I'm back once again, and I have about an hour and a half until I have to go to class, so I gotta make this quick. Also, new background unlocked, guys. I got that off of Amazon, and I have even like fairy lights around it. Wait, let me turn them on. I don't know if you'll be able to see it because it's daytime. Oh my god, you can see it! Ugh, I love it. It makes me feel like I'm like a little fairy in the woods, you know? I love it. So, today, we are going to be talking about the pigeon. Yes, this is a complete animal encyclopedia that I bought from Value Village for $6. And it's pretty bent up in certain places, but it does a job. So, for $6, I think that's a steal. Yeah. So, I have a soft spot for pigeons. Even the other day, I was going to work, I was taking the subway, and I saw a pigeon on the platform, and I was contemplating grabbing the pigeon and like bringing it outside because it was just pecking at the floor, thinking that the spots on the floor were food. And I felt really bad for it. I even sent my mom a text message. I was like, should I have taken the bird outside and caught it? So yeah. I have a soft spot when it comes to these birds, but yeah. I'm gonna be so for real with you guys. I feel embarrassed telling people I like pigeons, okay? Because I always get the same reaction. It's always like, oh, oh, you like pigeons? And like, I mean, I can low-key kind of understand why I get that reaction. Like, when you look at pigeons, they don't seem like they got much going on up in their brains. But I feel like they're very misunderstood. And I think that if people learned about the history of pigeons and also the cool things that pigeons are able to do, maybe they wouldn't hate pigeons as much as they do. So, pigeons are typically considered mid-tier when it comes to intelligent birds, because you also have birds like corvids and parrots, which are obviously much smarter than pigeons are. But pigeons have some unique abilities that other birds do not have, and they also do have a pretty deep history with humans as well, who now just consider them pests, but in the past they used to be the messengers. They used to send messages for humans. So yeah, let's start off with some fun facts about pigeons. So pigeons belong to the family Colymbidae, which has over 300 different species of bird. Doves and pigeons are also the same bird. Doves is typically a term used for smaller pigeons, while pigeons is used for the bigger ones. Pigeons and doves are typically tree-dwelling birds, but the ones that we have in our cities are descendants of rock doves. Rock doves would typically make their nests, or typically do make their nests in cliff sides, and that's why they do so well in the city, because they basically treat our buildings and our man-made structures as like artificial cliffs. That's also why they're really bad at making nests, because in the cliff sides, they wouldn't really have to make any elaborate nests. They would just have to make it good enough to be able to prevent their eggs from falling off the cliff. But in the cities, that doesn't translate so well. So if you've ever seen a pigeon nest, yeah. So like I said, pigeons are ancestors of rock doves that were introduced in the Americas by the settlers. They were originally domesticated by humans 5,000 to 10,000 years ago as a reliable food source. So people would breed them in order to eat them year-round. But over time, due to pigeons' homing abilities, humans discovered that they could use them as messengers. As early as 3000 BCE, humans have been using pigeons as a way to be able to deliver messages because of pigeons' innate ability to almost always be able to find their way back to their nest no matter where they are in the world. Although pigeons are technically considered feral now, they're not wild. They're all descendants of pet pigeons that were let loose into the wild, and they still do have a commensal relationship with humans, meaning that they rely on us for food and like nesting areas. But yeah, I don't know. That just makes me sad. So I think this is sick as hell. And I don't know if most people know this. Maybe I just know it because I'm a nerd. But pigeons were used so heavily in both World War I and II. So before the advent of the radio, pigeons were mainly what was used in the battlefield as a way for the mobile forces to be able to communicate with the people back home. In ancient Rome, Caesar used to use pigeons as a way to communicate with different territories. And even closer to modern times, pigeons played an incredibly important role when it came to both World War I and World War II. Homing pigeons were used by the military because they were far less likely to be intercepted, and they had typically around a 95% success rate. Australia, France, Germany, the United States, the UK, they all used homing pigeons in order to transport information back home. During World War II, I think America had around 54,000 pigeons that they trained, and the UK had around 250,000. So, like, pigeons played an integral part in the war. And I feel like most people don't know that. Or maybe everybody does. Maybe everybody does, and that's just common information. I don't know. Who knows? This is me from the future. As you can imagine, this job was very dangerous to the pigeons, as they were carrying secret vital war information. So a lot of times, enemy countries, when they would see pigeons in the air, they would try to shoot them down just to intercept the message to prevent it from being sent back. But these pigeons were brave, and they did their job. And after the Second World War, 32 pigeons were given medals of honor for their service. I'd like us to take a second to honor some of these heroes, these pigeon heroes from World War I and World War II. The first hero that we have over here is Shirami, who saved 194 US soldiers during World War I, and she did this all while being shot at, which made her lose an eye and a leg. So, you can't even lie, she was pretty badass. The second hero that we have over here is Winky. She was a British pigeon during World War II, and she flew 120 miles in order to rescue an air crew that had their bomber crash into the middle of the North Sea. So she's pretty cool too. The third hero that we have over here is G.I. Joe, who was a US pigeon during the Second World War, and he prevented a bombing in Italy by delivering a message literally right before, and because of that, they were able to prevent this bombing from happening, which is pretty sick. And I play Roblox in my room at 22 years old. So if pigeons were used so heavily during World War I and World War II, what happened afterwards? We abandoned them. We fucking abandoned them. That's what we did. Due to advancements in electronics and electronic communication, pigeons were no longer considered as viable. They were less reliable, they were slower, and humans basically decided that they weren't gonna use pigeons anymore. You need to leave! People began abandoning their flocks of pigeons in mass, just letting them go, essentially, just letting them out into the wild. And these abandoned pigeons continued to live on in our cities, where they continue to live on today. They were a bird that were abandoned by humans once they no longer served a use to us. And that's where I think the biggest misunderstanding comes from, is people in the city view pigeons as pests, but we brought them to this city. We used to have them as pets, and then we abandoned them once they no longer served a use to us. So that's where I think the misunderstanding comes from. I'm not blaming anyone for thinking that. At the end of the day, yeah, I know pigeons can be a little bit annoying, but they are still animals that for years worked alongside humans, but once they no longer served a purpose to us, we were just like, bye, Buster. And even before all of this, back in 1914, humans completely eradicated a species of pigeon that was called the passenger pigeon. We completely hunted them down to extinction. So, TLDR, humans have been assholes to pigeons in the past, and they continue to be. Yeah, that was pretty dark again. That's pretty dark, but hey, now we're gonna get into some more fun stuff before we end the video. So, humans were using pigeons as a way to be able to deliver messages for years, for thousands of years. How is it that pigeons are always able to make it back to their nests no matter where they are in the world? They are able to detect the Earth's magnetic fields and use that as essentially a compass to always be able to find their way back to their nest. There's a couple different theories as to why or how pigeons are able to do this, but I think the leading theory right now is that they have neurons in their inner ear that respond to the Earth's magnetic fields. And pigeons are incredibly sensitive to the Earth's magnetic field. Like, they can respond to changes as little as 0.1%. And I can't do that. I don't even know what a magnetic field looks like. And they use it to be able to get back home, no matter where they are in the world. And I think that's pretty cool. They're also very good at distinguishing between people. They are able to look at facial expressions and facial features and be able to differentiate between people. And they're also very good at detecting friendly and mean behavior. So they will go out of their way to avoid somebody who has been mean to them just by like being able to tell who that person is by looking at their facial features. They have highly developed visual systems that could be potentially even better than humans. And yeah, when shown photos, they can distinguish between familiar and unfamiliar faces. So remember that when you guys are mean to pigeons. Their short-term memory is very robust, and it's typically on par with primates, but sometimes they can even outperform other primates like monkeys in visual memory tasks, so pigeons are sick as hell. Anyways, guys, I literally have class. Like, I need to start getting ready, like, right now. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video on pigeons, and I hope it gave you some different perspective. They're not actually pests. Well, maybe they are a little bit annoying sometimes, but we abandoned them, and it sucks because they can't really fend for themselves very well. Because, again, they have a commensal relationship with humans, so they rely on us for food, they rely on us for nesting areas. And we're the reason why they're here in the first place. These guys were brought over from, like, they were rock doves. They were brought over from places that they lived essentially on cliff sides, and then brought over to the city, and they kind of just had to make their homes here. So I could talk about this all day. I gotta go. I have class now, but I hope you guys enjoyed the video.